Hey, this is the chair guy. Now that we've upgraded to the 7-note diatonic shape, in other words, the throne, we get to start doing really interesting things with it, like arpeggiations. And arpeggiation is just a fancy way of saying you're playing the notes within a chord one at a time in different combinations, like the first, third, fifth, first, third, fifth, first, third, fifth. And you can use this when you're playing over different chord progressions to arpeggiate over those different chords. So we'll begin with our starting shape, but it's a slightly simplified version. In the original starting shape I showed you guys, we started out on the root and I showed the lower fifth. But for this one, we're just going to show the third and the fifth, just the root, third, fifth. Keep in mind that these two thirds are the same note. They're just played depending on where you have your finger. So if you have your index finger on the root, then you might be able to make that stretch down to this third, especially if you're higher up on the fretboard. But if you put your middle finger on this root, you can easily play the third and the fifth, and you'll have it right under your fingers just like that. With minor, it's slightly different. Again, I'm leaving off that lower fifth, so you just have your two thirds, which are the same note again, and your fifth. So if you have your index finger here, it's very easy to play all three of these notes. Put your ring finger here, you can play this note very easily, but it's more of a stretch to get down to your fifth. So remember that within every throne, we're going to leave off that F sharp, because that F sharp is the major seventh, and so it's going to be the root of a diminished chord. So mostly you're going to use chords based on these 6 notes, and these 3 notes are always going to be major chords. These 3 notes are always going to be minor chords, so you just have to remember that. And then when you're playing over a chord progression, or however you want to do these arpeggios, you just have to move this shape around. If you put it on this G, you're going to get the arpeggio for G. If you slide it over to the C, because remember that's another major chord, you get the arpeggio for C. If you slide it down to the D, you get the arpeggio for D. And then the same with minor. You can start out on this E, because of course E minor is the relative minor of G, and so you will have the arpeggiation for E. Slide it over to the B, and you have it for B. You slide it up to the A, and you have it for A. And so this is just an easy way to see that the arpeggios for all the basic chords, obviously if you're dealing with a 7th or a 9th or an 11th or something, it gets a little more complicated for some of them. But if you're just playing the basic arpeggiation, all of those notes are going to be within the throne shape.